Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. We're so happy to have you with us on this Friday. I'm Elise Seedy, and I'll be with you this hour as we work our way through the top stories of the day, which, of course, the weather lands at the top of that as we take a look right now at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. So things could get interesting there at the airport as we are expecting potentially some ice this weekend. And you know that that's a tall order when you're talking about trying to get those planes in and out safely. So here in just a little bit, we'll check in with the folks at Hartsfield-Jackson. They're holding a press conference on what they're doing to prepare and just, you know, what we can expect as we get into the weekend. So stick around for more on what's happening out at the airport. But also talking about some other headlines. If maybe you've got a trip that you're trying to make it out to, or, you know, maybe on Monday you're trying to get somewhere. Let's talk about what we know as far as airport travel. So some passengers may end up receiving travel waivers after the winter ice storm that we're expecting this weekend. And that's because of major flight disruptions that are already happening and really being expected this weekend, too. So some U.S. airlines have already started talking about these travel waivers and just how they're going to be more flexible with passengers as this winter storm is expected to bring heavy snow to some areas, sleet, dangerous ice across the country. So the airlines that have already made some comments on this, Southwest Airlines, American Airlines, Delta, and JetBlue, and they're offering eligible passengers the chance to rebook those travel plans without cancellation fees. They're saying you have to do that, though, within a set time. So Hopper is a travel booking app, and they're estimating upwards of 15,000 flights could be impacted in the coming days. Significant. The estimate comes as Delta canceled flights at airports in 5 states today. So yes, there could be a lot of moving parts here if you are hoping to make a trip or maybe expecting folks from out of town as they make their way in. But 150 million people are under this winter storm watch or a warning. So you may want to be proactive if your airline does end up canceling your flight. So if they do that, airlines will book you on another flight. Sometimes they'll partner with a competing airline to try to get you where you need to go. And according to the U.S. Department of Transportation, you are entitled to a refund if your flight is canceled or significantly delayed, regardless of the reason, but only if you choose not to travel or accept those travel credits, vouchers, or any other form of compensation that's offered by the airline. So if you do want to rebook your flight that gets canceled or delayed, they're saying try to rebook it quickly online, that you could have better luck just going the online route instead of trying to get someone on the phone. They're saying if that doesn't work, then maybe try a ticketing agent. They say speed is your friend here. So the faster that you can try to get those new plans in place, the better for you. So a big question is a lot of folks wondering, you know, will you be reimbursed for hotel and for food? The answer is no. That's airlines will not provide hotel, food, or other reimbursements if a delay or cancellation is due to weather, which is what we're expecting this weekend. That's considered outside of the airline's control. So again, the answer is no on getting reimbursed for hotel or food if your flight is disrupted. So this was a story that was pretty interesting. You know, we're always talking about here how Atlanta is the world's busiest airport. We say it all the time. It's kind of a badge of honor for us right here in Atlanta, but things could be changing. And that is all due to the Windy City. We're talking about Chicago O'Hare Airport could be blowing back into their spot as America's busiest airport, believe it or not. So Chicago's mayor is saying that preliminary data from the Federal Aviation Administration is showing Chicago O'Hare International Airport is once again the busiest when it comes to flight travel after 7 years. So the numbers here, they're showing 857,292 aircraft that landed or took off at O'Hare. And that beats Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport by, I don't even think it was close. I think it was like, you know, it wasn't even close, the difference there. So O'Hare is, of course, the key hub for both American and United. Here in Atlanta, we are the hub for Delta. So nothing is official on that just yet. But according to this and according to Chicago's airport, Chicago O'Hare International Airport is now the busiest airport in the world. So we shall certainly see. So we're hearing from a lot of cities, a lot of counties, just kind of what they're doing to try to prepare ahead of all of the winter mess that we could be expecting this weekend. So Cobb County officials are actually speaking on how they're preparing roads for the incoming ice storm threat. So let's listen in on this together.
Good morning. My name is Drew Ressler. I'm the Director of Transportation for Cobb County. We're here in our Traffic Management Center. Over the weekend, this will be our primary operation point where we will have road maintenance staff, EMA, police, fire running out of this facility, monitoring the conditions on the roadway, looking at roadway temperatures, staying abreast of weather reports, to then make sure that we're able to continue to operate our fixed routes and putting out brine, salt, and gravel mixes, and responding to any downed trees, coordinating with our partners in Georgia Power and throughout the rest of the community.
Can you just kind of go through
Sure.
what you anticipate the plan to be this weekend when it comes to pre-treating and getting the crews out on the streets?
Of course. So the weather is changing hourly, so we're staying on top of the weather reports. But right now our plan is all of our road maintenance staff will come in tomorrow, and they will begin brining, watching the weather and the temperatures and the roadway temperatures to make sure that they time that as best that they possibly can. And as the weather turns and that turns into ice, they will begin treating that with a salt gravel mix throughout the night, and they will be working 24 hours starting tomorrow until the weather breaks and the roads are fully cleared. They operate on fixed routes throughout the county. So we have maps for all of our major thoroughfares and state routes, and they just constantly run those routes and treat them as needed, and again, pick up any debris, make sure that first responders are able to get to where they need to get to. Additionally, as work requests come in from 911 and the after hours water system reporting system, they're able to respond and dispatch from this. Part of what this screen will show is the vehicle locations, where we'll be able to understand and see where all of our crews are, and they'll be able to respond in real time to issues as they arise.
When you're monitoring major routes, a lot of the time the guidance for people, for residents, is, hey, the streets that get treated last year, neighborhood streets, you had your fixed routes you monitor. What should people do when their neighborhood gets iced over? Because I'm sure you'll be getting a lot of calls.
That's right. You're absolutely right. Our priority is those major thoroughfares to make sure not just that first responders as a priority are able to get to calls for service, but also that Georgia Power, we're anticipating wind gusts and down trees, and being able to keep those roads open is especially important, and being able to allow those power crews to be able to get to those incidents to respond and repair is very important. Those fixed treatments are on the major thoroughfares. When the ice gets very heavy, there is just not the ability to go into neighborhoods unless there's an emergency, a need for first responders to come in, or for a power crew to come in and restore power. So as roads get icy, and as conditions deteriorate, we ask that everyone stay in their homes, that they wait out the storm until those roads are safe to pass.
JD, can I get you to come up and explain the equipment that we have to respond to this, the crews that are being scheduled, and the upgrades in the brining system?
Yes, sir. So J.D. Lorenz, Deputy Director at Cobb County Department of Transportation. Our road maintenance crews have several pieces of equipment that we've been working on all week to prepare for this storm. There's 6 brine units that will be used on the routes that Drew spoke of. To the brine unit specifically, we recently upgraded our brine unit, where we were able to make about 3,500 gallons an hour, and now we can make about 10,000 gallons an hour. And that's really in just anticipation of these types of ice storms that may come, so that we can make sure that we're out there and effective with our equipment and our larger pieces of equipment that handle the salt and the sand. We have 11 of those trucks that have been prepared to be on those major thoroughfare routes.
Can you tick off some of the numbers? How many miles of streets do you cover? How many trucks do you have? How many tons of whatever do you have, and stuff like that?
Sure. So we have the 6. They hold about 11 tons of sand and salt and gravel per truck. We'll treat about 560 lane miles during this time through the thoroughfares. Now, granted, there are 2,500 lane miles, a little over 2,500 lane miles in Cobb County. So to the point of asking people to stay off of the local roads, stay home. If you don't need to get out, we ask that you don't get out. Don't put yourself in a position where you have to be rescued from a local road. We'll treat those 560 miles of thoroughfares on a continually basis just throughout the storm until, again, it is clear.
And JD, what's your biggest concern as you head into this weekend?
Really, it is. Really, it's just it's public safety as a whole. I believe that people will believe that the storm is coming and hope that they do stay off of the roads. Really the biggest concern is the safety of our crews. For folks that don't heed to that, if they get out, it is a dangerous situation for someone to get too close to some of our equipment while it's on the roadway. So we ask people to stay back from that. So really the biggest concern is that. And of course, I think the concern for everybody is just the unknown. At what point do the roads become icy or the trees start falling? That's really an unknown right now, but we are following it.
Obviously, the Department of Transportation's message is for folks to stay home and everything, but should any resident ever have to drive, hopefully they won't have to or anything, but should they ever have to get on the road, is there anything that they can do to try and keep themselves safe while they're out?
Well, there are. So I would encourage them to go to a trusted social media site, which I think all social media and news agencies will put information out. Here locally, Cobb County Communications will also be doing the same. And so they'll have information about what roads have been treated and what roads need to yet be treated on those thoroughfares. If you come across a downed tree, of course, if there's power lines in it, you do not want to be anywhere near that tree. Stay away from it. In the event that the tree is just simply blocking the road, if there's another access point, use that. If not, encourage folks to use the many different ways to let us know about that. The non-emergency number for public safety is 770-499-3911. You can also contact us at 770-528-1600, all non-emergency lines that we ask. If it's not an emergency, use the non-emergency line.
Drew, can I get you you touched on this earlier, but just the cooperation with other agencies in Cobb County and outside of Cobb County?
Of course. Just to address something else on the trees, what we would ask is if someone does see a downed tree that they do let us know about that. Again, deciding whether or not there's down power lines, it could be very risky, and removing trees can be very dangerous. So if there is a downed tree in the roadway, that is something that we want to know about, and we will dispatch crews to address that. In terms of partnerships, there is a great deal of them within Cobb County. We stay closely connected to our emergency management agency that has helped us with resources. In this room, there will be police, fire, road maintenance staff. We have already contacted and been in contact with Georgia Power on their power crews. The Parks Department has offered their staffing to be able to supplement the road maintenance staff to make sure that we stay on top of our routes and then particular items that need to be addressed during the event.
Okay. Anything else? We're going to have information on closures for the county government and libraries and stuff like that coming up midday today, and we'll post that on our social media and on our webpage as well. And you can just, as the weekend goes by, just stay in touch with us.
Okay, also, we just heard from Cobb County what they're doing to prepare for the weekend. Let's check in now with Georgia Power to see how they are taking steps to prepare, what they're encouraging customers to do. We have Georgia Power spokesperson Amanda Souls, who is joining us now with the steps they are taking. So, Amanda, thanks for being on with us today. Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Look, let's get into this. Give us some insight into exactly what Georgia Power is doing right now to prepare. I know this isn't y'all's first rodeo.
It's not. So we've been preparing for the last few days, monitoring the forecast, and we've got crews stationed around the state. And as everyone knows, the forecast does keep changing, so we're trying to be very flexible, but we are prepared. We've been stocking our trucks. We're bringing in personnel from a few other states to help us here, and we're just making sure we're as prepared as possible to restore power.
Yeah, if folks are looking at their screen right now, then they see what it says. We're talking 2 to 3 day power outages or longer is what you should be prepared for. So, let's get to this. What are your biggest concerns here when you're talking about the possibility of ice, which is what we're potentially looking at this weekend?
Well, an ice storm is very different from a hurricane, right? So ice accumulating on power lines is very different. So a lot of our challenges are getting to where power is out. There's ice on the roads. We're trying to make sure everyone can be safe getting to prolonged places where the power is out. So we need to make sure everyone's staying off of the road, and we have to make sure the system has completely moved out of the way and debris is off of the road before we can begin work.
So speaking of beginning work, if that's what needs to happen, what should customers expect in terms of response and getting the power back on, Amanda?
Well, all of our customers are automatically enrolled in text messages, so they know exactly what's going on with their restoration times. And then we want our customers to be prepared, know if they have non-perishable foods, do they have an emergency preparedness kit, do they know how to work their generator. We are prepared, but we want our customers to also be prepared and know what to do in their homes.
Yeah, makes sense, right? We got to look out for ourselves when it comes to this. And let's dive a little bit deeper into that. You just mentioned a few things, but any other things on our checklist that we should be doing just to make sure we're safe and warm if the power goes out, Amanda?
Well, make sure you have a plan, right? If someone is working tomorrow, if you lose power, do you have a place where you'll meet your family members? Do you have a communications plan? Do you have any medications that may expire or that may be running out? You just need to have a plan for those in your household. If you have elderly family members or do you have any pets, bring them inside. You want to make sure you're out of the cold, off of the roads, and you have a plan in place.
Very nice. So where should customers go if they are looking for updates? Maybe they need to report an outage during the storm. Is there a certain place you recommend that they go, Amanda?
GeorgiaPower.com, and then on the top right, you have access to our outage map. Our outage map is updated every 10 minutes from crews that are actively out in the field, so our customers have just as much information as we do.
Okay, any final thoughts for us as we prepare for the what-ifs that could happen weather-wise this weekend?
Well, stay safe, stay off of the roads, and stay warm. And we want everyone to know that we are preparing and we've got all of our resources in place.
All right, Georgia Power is on it. Amanda Souls with Georgia Power joining us this morning. Amanda, thank you so much for your time, and we hope you stay safe this weekend as well.
Thank you.
All right, this could impact all kinds of things, especially schools, businesses. We're already getting some cancellations, some delays that have come in. So let's take a look at this really quickly. Lots of events are maybe even just adjusting their schedules. So we've posted a full list of what's come into the newsroom on our website, fox5atlanta.com. So that's also a number of school districts that are moving to cancel weekend activities. I just got a notification. My daughter is in Cobb County school, so they've made some changes to weekend plans, some delays of activities that were planned. Also, Emory University officials are saying that the school is closed, and University of Georgia students are being told to leave campus after classes today, but they're saying those residence halls will be open for those who can't leave. So again, our website, the best place to go just to take a look at those cancellations, delays, and changes to businesses, to schools, and the like. So if you're just joining us, you're probably wondering, what exactly is expected this weekend? Is it what are our meteorologists seeing? Well, we have our meteorologist, Jonathan Stacy, who's going to meet with us on the other side of the break for just the latest updates. So stick around. Welcome back, everyone. 11:21 now, and meteorologist Jonathan Stacy is joining us with a look at what's in store for the weekend. Hey.
Yeah, what's in store for the weekend? Many questions out there. So, Elise, maybe the best way to do this is, instead of me just getting into this whole long explanation of what I know now and what could or could not happen, what are questions that just general people, non-meteorologists asking these days? What are we seeing out there? What would be your number one pressing question? You're a mom, you're working, you have to get out in this situation?
I mean, I'm wondering just how bad we think this ice situation could get, because it's like, you can navigate around snow, but ice is a different monster entirely. Right?
It really is, and that's why I think this storm, it's not a spectacle. It's not like, oh my gosh, we're getting a blizzard or even a healthy snowfall. Snow is pretty much out of the conversation at this moment. In fact, as you can see here on your screen, let's just hold this double box, if you will, guys. There's a winter storm watch out for the entire area, and then there's a section up across northeast Georgia, which includes Gainesville, Hall County, and even Forsyth County as you get closer to the metro area, that's under an ice storm warning. So I expect that ice storm warning to be shifting further to the south and to the west within the next hour and a half. I'm looking at the National Weather Service right now to see if they're going to make that move in short order. What that tells us, at the center of the storm, the focus of it is ice. How much ice can we expect? Well, I think talking about ice, we got an email from a viewer yesterday, and I thought this email was actually something that we should probably spend a little bit of time on. And they were asking, how do you all measure ice accumulation? So it's actually not the measurement of ice, because that would be actually pretty difficult to do, especially with uneven surfaces out there. We don't measure ice accumulation. We measure to see how much freezing rain is falling as you would rain. How can we tell it's freezing rain? Well, if the temperature is below 32 degrees or at 32 degrees on the surface, we say, okay, that's freezing rain. And so when it hits the surface over time, because it's not liquid and it's not moving, this is what we expect in terms of ice buildup. So this is the same way we would measure rain. Our models are picking up on the same data as rainfall measurement. But this specifically is not rainfall. This is freezing rain. So how much freezing rain? Well, for the metro area, we are firmly in and hanging around that half-inch mark, and that's the disruptive category. I want you to be, I just want to be very clear about this. The models are saying a half-inch ice here in Atlanta. So if we were to peel that back and say, okay, we get maybe a quarter of an inch, we're still in the disruptive category. Now, if we were to move that up to maybe 4 or maybe 3/4 of an inch of ice, 1.75. Now you're definitely safely into the crippling zone here. And that comes with power outages. The power grid around here is fairly fragile, because many of our power lines are above ground.
Right.
So trees get weighted down pretty easily, especially with there being so much surface area in the wintertime. Basically, all of the tree is susceptible to those icicles. So one of the things I want you to notice tomorrow, if you're trying to get an idea of like, can I still dash out? Has the temperature dropped? I know it's been raining, but you're not outside to hear that little smack that happens with freezing rain on surfaces. I want you to look at trees out your window if you can step outside for a second. And if you see icicles forming, that is your no-go sign. If icicles haven't started forming on the trees, I'm not saying that that's a green light, but just go out with caution. It's a yellow light for you. However, if you see icicles forming on trees and maybe even other surfaces, that is your red light. Stop there. I would not venture out, especially if you don't have a four-wheel drive, and especially if we are now into the post-sunset hours of Saturday. One of the most notable changes that I would really like to focus on here, Elise, is that we have been forecasting this thing could start as early as Friday night going into Saturday. Now I want to be very clear for all of you who are watching. Saturday across the metro area and the south side and even out east is going to be fairly dry. We're not talking about totally dry. There could be a sort of sprinkle, but if we stop the clock here, this is now 12 midnight. Nothing is happening anywhere. Temperatures have fallen below freezing in Dalton and in Blairsville, and we're starting to get a northerly push of wind. That's going to become more northeasterly, which is going to make a significant difference in our temperature development here. But for the first, I'm going to kind of roll this back here, and I have fairly minimum use here, so we can kind of stop this now. So it's now 12 midday. So I got to really press this point in because we have talked so much about Saturday being a problematic day. We're at 12 noon and nothing has happened yet. So you're going to likely think, okay, we've kind of battened down the hatches and we are sheltering in place. You actually don't have to do that tomorrow morning. You can get out, do whatever you need to do, run some errands, get some exercise.
Birthday party.
Yeah, kids' birthday party.
Okay, so
if there are any plans that you have for Saturday morning, I would be cautious and careful, but I would not cancel.
Okay.
This is Saturday morning, folks. Saturday afternoon, look at this. Okay, so it starts getting a little iffy because by 3 o'clock, if there's something that's falling from the sky and the temperatures are at 32 degrees Canton, 30 in Gainesville, okay, you're now starting to get some of those little sneaky slick spots in. What I think will also be pretty interesting here is that if rain doesn't develop, whatever hits the ground is freezing rain. It's going to freeze pretty quickly. If there was some water on the ground, it would take that a little bit longer to set in. But now it's 3 o'clock here in Atlanta, and then after that 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, and then a wall of water comes in, and look at that, we're at 28 degrees here in the city, and it just keeps on coming. This is now hour
Saturday
3
night.
of Saturday night here, hour 3 of freezing rain, hour 4, hour 5, hour 6, hour 7, hour 8. So we're looking at 8 hours of solid, and that's what has been one of the main things about this storm. And I think that's where the slow arrival is going to kind of kick us in the shin, is that if it's arriving slowly, that means that the system, based on the models projected all week long, that means it's a slower system. So it's going to be with us a little bit longer. Unfortunately for us, it's going to be with us in the darkness of night, and that's when the temperatures are the coldest. So the impacts could be greater based on that shifting of the timing. If we did get started earlier in the day on Saturday, maybe we could push all of this out of here by Sunday morning, and things, maybe the recovery could just be a bit faster, trying to find the silver lining here. But no, with this slowing down, it's going to really settle in, and the brunt of the moisture is going to be over us when temperatures are at their coldest. This is 8 o'clock Sunday morning, and you may not see anything falling from the sky, especially from Atlanta to the south, and even going out east, but 23 degrees, anything that you step on outside, including your front porch, is going to be frozen over.
The damage has been done at that point,
The damage has been done. And throughout the day, we'll end up having bouts of moisture, pockets of freezing rain, and then a wall of water comes through at 3 o'clock. It's too early to tell how this is going to all pan out, because that's just a mess here. And some people are going to be getting downpours. I'm talking about like 45 degrees in LaGrange. I'm talking about it's smacking the ground. We're talking about some pretty heavy rain there. Meanwhile, in Athens and Gainesville, it's still falling as freezing rain. Can we push the temperature up before the day is done? It's going to be a hard sell. This model here is saying that it's 31 degrees in Atlanta, and it does not come above freezing. So what you're seeing in the green here could possibly be pink.
Okay, so it does. It looks like that any ice on the ground would have a hard time melting off. On Sunday. So
and Monday is going to be extremely cold. I think one of the coldest days I can recall here going into Tuesday. 15 degrees. I'm going to have to pull some stats when I have time. 15 degrees. I have never known it to be 15 degrees in this city.
Yeah, we don't hear that much.
15. And the winds could be up to 40 miles an hour, wind gusts. So if gusts are that high and it's 15 degrees, it may feel like it is near 5 degrees here in the city. Go up into the mountains, it will probably have negative wind chill values.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of the sidebar concern with power outages. That if the power goes out, one of the things that they cannot work through, they can work through rain sometimes, but what they cannot work through are high winds. They're on buckets trying to restore power. You got to think about this. The linemen are on buckets, so those buckets are not going to go up with gusts riding some 20 30 miles an hour. So maybe there's a temptation to think, okay, well, our power should be coming back on because there's nothing happening outside. Yes, they say the roads are a mess, but like they should be able to get to it. Well, if winds are gusting throughout the day, Sunday evening going into Monday, riding as high as some 40 miles an hour.
Oh, goodness.
And temperatures are about to drop down to 15 degrees to kick off Tuesday morning. Yeah, that we're just going to be thankful for shelter at that point, because at least you're not outside, and hopefully no one is outside. You know, warming centers will be open, but obviously you got to get to those warming centers before the brunt of it happens. But it's going to be, if you're without power, it's going to be a situation where it's going to be quite miserable.
Oh my gosh. And that's the thing too, if you're watching, the Georgia Power is saying, you know, this could be anywhere from 2 to 3 days if you do lose power, and we know we see it go longer at times. So they're saying prepare for at least 2 to 3 days of losing power.
2 to 3
and that makes
days at
sense when
minimum,
you mentioned what you said about the winds and difficulty in restoring power in those conditions.
Yeah, those linemen can't go up in that. It just doesn't work. The bucket would be swinging all over the place, and they wouldn't be able to get a good grasp on the lines to restore them. And obviously those are high-profile trucks, profile vehicles that they take out. So they have to have road conditions that are safe for them to get out so they can begin that work. And I trust, you know, I've seen them work miracles, and it comes back on fairly quickly. But this may be a situation, this is not a tropical system where, okay, once it's out of here, it blazes by at some 30 miles an hour or something like that. Okay, the day's over, now it's recovery. We see the sun pop out whenever we have a glancing blow with a tropical system.
Right.
And then with the everyday thunderstorm that comes through, those things last for a couple hours and we move on. Unfortunately, yeah, the precipitation is going to have a window of about 24 hours, but with cold air and some really gusty winds following behind, that will slow the recovery effort down to some degree in pretty much all parts of North Georgia.
Oh my goodness, I feel like heads are spinning right now, and just, you know, the what ifs and what could happen, and looking into next week, you know, the potential of this impacting school schedules and work, and I mean, it's, you know, it leaves a lot to be
and they're going to be if I can have a little commentary here, they're going to be the people who are going to be our test bunnies for Sunday, and there are going to be some of you who get out either because you have to, and many others because they don't have to, are going to venture out and get on the roads, and we're going to learn from you all what conditions are like. The Fox 5 team is going to be here. We're going to be trying to get a pulse on all that stuff ourselves, but it's really those people who go out and kind of, unfortunately, okay, if we see the cars moving and they're moving forward as the driver wills, that's a good sign, but there's also the other side to that. And that's where we will learn. Ice is one of those kind of things. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of tracking on the radar because it's ground truth that I need. And so we're going to be using cameras, relying on you all to let us know. So I know there are people out there, much like us, who work for medical, in the medical field. There are many law enforcement agencies that help us not only with the law, but firefighters, the power folks. You're going to have to make that a trek out there as well, that trek through all of this, and you're going to be a really good gauge for us. And at this point, I think I-20 may be a dividing line here, but I would rule out some issues happening in South Metro. This is probably the extreme situation here, that it reaches all the way out to Carrollton.
Okay. All right, so big takeaway here. Take this seriously and be sure that you're staying on top of what's happening weather-wise. We've got our meteorologist team that's going to have your back every step of the way through this, and we're grateful for it. So thank you so much, Jonathan. We appreciate it, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. 11:37 now on this Friday morning. So if you've been watching, we've been talking a lot about what's expected to happen this weekend weather-wise. We're expecting ice. We know that trees and ice do not mix well. So our Eli Jordan is live this morning with Atlanta Arbor just to get some tips on what we could potentially see, maybe ways to prepare in any way that we can. Eli, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Alicia. It sounds like it could be a busy weekend for arborists around Atlanta. And I'm here with Josh Murata, who owns our Atlanta Arbor. Josh, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
How concerned are you about this weekend?
If it's as bad as they say, pretty concerned. Ice is one of the most damaging forces that trees have to deal with. So it's not going to be good if we get as much ice as they're saying. It sticks around and can cause havoc.
Now, prevention is the best thing to take care of your trees during a situation like that, but we're a little bit beyond prevention. Okay. But what kind of do's and don'ts would you advise now that we're here?
So biggest thing you can do is be aware of the trees that are around your house. Keep an eye on them. If you start seeing things bow or bend over, get your family somewhere safe. One thing that people instinctively want to do is if you have smaller trees, ornamental trees, even medium-sized trees like this, don't go up and try to shake the tree. Don't try to knock the ice off of the tree because you don't know how much load it's under. It could end up failing and then being on top of you. So keep your kids away, move your cars out of the way of any trees, and then if you start seeing stuff around your house bowing over, get your family somewhere safe in the home that's away from any trees.
So don't shake the tree, no matter how bad I want to.
I know, yeah. You're going to instinctively want to do that, but do not. Stay away from it.
And so the weekend comes and goes. There's still a little bit of ice on the trees, but we're also going to have wind come Monday.
Yeah.
But just because the ice is gone, the danger's not gone.
So the misconception is that the ice is the worst part. The ice creates cracks on weak trees. It exposes the weakness that the trees already had. So after the ice storm's gone, that's when we see most of the failures. You'll see limbs cracking and splitting afterwards because they've now created a bigger crack or they exacerbated the issue that they've already had further, and then you end up with more failures after the storm than you actually had during the storm. So after the storm passes through, the best thing you could do is have an arborist like Atlanta Arbor come out to your property, check your trees, make sure that there's not any looming hazards that you're not aware of, no splits or cracks in the trees, and then if you do have them, then we'll be able to rectify that before the impending future storms.
Because a tree might fall from damage like just a few months after all this icing, correct?
Correct, yeah. We see them days and weeks after the storm comes through. That's when we are seeing a lot of the failures because these branches are weakened or they create a crack that may not be huge, but then we get a wind, 15, 20 mile an hour gusts that come rolling through. Those then, cause those cracks to fail. So then you have trees that fall or split and limbs come off, shearing off the tree.
So bottom line though, this weekend, just be aware.
Be aware, yeah. Keep your eyes out. Make sure you're paying attention to your trees. Don't let your kids go outside. No playing underneath the trees. Don't try to shake them, of course, but move everybody to a safe area.
And then post-weekend, when all the damage is gone and the weather settles down,
arborists out to your property minimum of every 2 years. That way we're able to identify any problems or hazards that you may have, stuff that you're not aware of, because people don't think about trees until it's events like this or we have hurricanes or tornadoes coming through. That's when people get scared about it. But if you're doing constant maintenance, keeping your trees pruned and keeping them safe prior to, then you can sleep a little bit better and have a little bit more peace of mind during events like this.
Real quick, you got your crews on call this weekend?
Everybody's ready to roll. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit exciting, but also just anticipating how it's going to hit and where it's going to hit.
I hate storms just because of the impact it has on the community, but we are here to help. So.
Awesome. And I guess everybody else is probably booked up, so don't bug your arborist right now. They're all getting ready for the weekend, I guess.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Josh Murata, thank you so much of Atlanta Arbor. And at least you heard it here. It's a little late for prevention, but be aware and then do your prevention after the storm. But just because the ice is gone, it's all melted, doesn't mean the danger is gone. You got to watch out for potential damage to your trees and not get up underneath those things and get an arborist out there to check some things out, especially if you got a bunch of trees around your house, because later on, weeks from now, they can show that damage and fall down on your house and injure your property or loved ones.
Yeah,
back to you.
True. Yeah, this was helpful. So some good advice for folks, what to do after the fact, just like you mentioned, Eli. So thank you so much for that. We appreciate it.
Exactly.
All right, so we've been hearing from, different cities. We've talked to the governor this week. This morning earlier, I spoke with Atlanta mayor on just how they're all preparing. So GDOT is also weighing in on that. We're also learning GDOT crews will start pre-treating the highways, which is good news, in preparation of what to expect. So our Kim Leffler actually checked in with GDOT for more information on what they're doing.
Crews will start heading out to pre-treat roadways at midnight, and treatment will continue throughout the duration of the storm. As temperatures drop and ice becomes a real possibility, GDOT says it's all hands on deck.
It's a different beast that we have to deal with in the south when we have these ice systems.
Crews will begin pre-treating interstates across North Georgia with brine to keep ice from sticking to the road.
We're ready to go. We have materials, we have equipment, we have technology, we have people.
GDOT says it has nearly 2 million gallons of brine on hand and the ability to make 50,000 gallons per hour if needed. That's significantly more brine than the state had during Snowmageddon back in 2014 when a winter storm left motorists stranded on roads. Crews will also pre-treat state routes, focusing first on roads near hospitals and urgent care centers. Starting Saturday morning, Hero and Champ units will switch to 24-hour patrols on interstates, especially along I-20 and routes north, watching for crashes and stranded drivers. Still, transportation leaders say preparation only goes so far, and they need drivers to do their part.
We're prepared, but do not mistake our preparedness as an invitation for you to be on the road. When we say get off the road, when the emergency management centers say get off the road, we really need compliance this time because of the ice that's coming.
GDOT says ice can be especially tough to manage, even with crews out there. That's why they're encouraging everyone to stay off the roadways until the storm passes. And of course, we'll be with you throughout the duration of the storm to keep you safe and informed. In DeKalb County, Kim Leffler for Fox Local.
Okay, Kim, thank you for that. And as the winter storm approaches, several schools and businesses and events are adjusting their schedules. Some of them are canceling what they had planned over the weekend, just out of caution on what could be coming our way. So we posted a full list on our website there, fox5atlanta.com. It includes a number of school districts that are moving to cancel weekend activities. Also, Emory University officials say the school is closed, and University of Georgia students are being told to leave campus today after their classes. But we did hear those residence halls will stay open for those students who aren't able to leave. So frostbite, we got to talk about that. That's a real risk as millions of Americans are facing this major winter storm this week. Doctors Thomas Waters with Cleveland Clinic is providing just some warning signs because this may not be something that you've experienced before or know much about. So just talking about treating frostbite, preventing that amid these cold temperatures. So here's what the doctor's saying about this. He's saying in the early stages of frostbite, your skin may feel cold, maybe a little bit tingly and numb. They say if so, seek medical care immediately. Like that's your sign to get somewhere and to get some help. If you have minor frostbite, run the affected area under warm water. But he says do not use hot water because that can aggravate the injury. So warm, not hot water. He says that hypothermia during this time is also a big risk for many, many Americans. And signs of that, Dr. Waters says shivering, slowed movement is another sign of hypothermia. Also, altered mental status could be a sign as well. So he says that if it gets to that point, then warm that person up as quickly as possible and then get them to the hospital. That's got to be the #1 goal at that point. Dr. Waters says that keeping hand warmers, blankets, and just, extra clothes, non-perishable food, and lots of water in your car and in your home is ideal as well. So just a few tips there to try to prevent frostbite should you find yourself in the situation where that comes up. So now to a story of animal advocates who are racing to rescue more than 200 dogs from a rural Mississippi property before this massive winter storm is expected to hit. It's coming here, but it's supposed to hit in so many different areas as well. So a team from Paws of War, a New York-based nonprofit that rescues animals, called the property a, quote, house of horrors. And that means something because they've seen all kinds of things. So if they're saying it's that bad, it is. It says the skeletal remains of dogs decomposing in the yard, feces everywhere. So now officials are needing some help in rehoming these animals. 13 of those dogs are now at the North Shore Humane Society in Covington, Louisiana. So the Humane Society is now trying to get as many of these dogs as possible into foster homes because their building is old and doesn't retain heat well. So the timing timing of this is honestly terrible as we get ready to head into a winter storm, but I'm glad they were able to try to rescue these 200 dogs from this home in rural Mississippi. Just a bad deal all around. It's 11:47. We got more for you coming up, so stick around. Welcome back, everyone. Just before 11:50 now, I want to take a look outside right now at Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, where pretty soon we are expecting to hear from them just, what they're doing to prepare for what's potentially headed our way this weekend. The treatment of the runways, talking flight cancellations and delays as well. There we see it there. It looks like they've got their trucks out. They're ready to go to work and ready for the ice that's expected to hit the area as well. So expected to have some big impacts there at the airport. Again, we will check in with that press conference as soon as they get things up and running right there. And then right above that, you can see a different scene, and that is DeKalb County. So we're going to hear from county leaders on what they're doing to keep the county safe, to keep the roads clear for all the folks in DeKalb County as well. So stick around for what they have to say and for what folks at the airport have to say as well. So by now, of course, you've gotten the memo that we are expecting some ice this weekend, some winter weather, a very serious episode of that, expected to bring ice across really the eastern half of the U.S. That could cause potential damage to homes and to businesses as well. It's so important right now to be prepared for what's to come. So Ian Giammanco, who's Managing Director for Atmospheric Science, is joining us live just to talk a little bit about this. So Ian, thank you so much for being with us here on the stream. Good morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, so let's get into this. I got to tell you, I was shocked at the total here for damage that comes from winter storms, and to the tune of $4.2 billion. Wow.
Yeah, so it's a big number. And, a lot of that actually comes from it's burst pipes. We get cold air, and a lot of times in ice storms, we know the drill where the power goes out, especially in the south where we have plumbing on exterior walls. Unfortunately, those pipes freeze, they burst, and we end up with a whole lot of damage. And so I think we all know, when you get water in your home, wherever it's coming from, the dollars are going to start to add up, and you're going to end up out of your home for some period of time just trying to deal with that.
Not ideal. So you're actually, this is super helpful. You've got 6 smart ways to prep your home for winter weather. So let's get into this, starting with this one. Inspect your roof.
Yeah, so right now, think about our timing. We've got a little bit of time before our precip starts across, really from the Atlanta metro into North Georgia. So you can look at your roof, and that also ties to things like branches overhanging the roof, especially with ice. Once we get about 2/10 to a quarter and above that, we're going to start having branches come down. So if you put off some of that and you see some branches that are overhanging your roof and you have the means, we've got a little time, you could take care of that right now, is to get some of those branches cut back. But we only have about a day for these kind of last minute true bigger preps that we can take.
Well, worth mentioning too, Ian, we're just talking about this weekend, but looking on down the line, we could be seeing a very similar scene play out next weekend as well. So it's better to be on top of these things, because this is not the only episode what we could see this weekend. But another one that you mentioned, and this is one I actually finally made an appointment for someone to come out, because I noticed how bad the gutters have gotten. You got to do that.
Yeah, gutters is one too. Same deal. Like if you can get up there and clean your gutters out, what happens is in these kind of winter weather events, you have rain falls, hits your roof, falls in the gutter and can freeze. And you want that water to actually be able to run off and away from your home. If that water freezes quickly up there, you can start to pile up ice right on the edge of your roof. And this is when that ice starts to melt, especially the layer right at the bottom where it touches the roof surface. That water can actually start coming in our attics. You see this problem in areas that deal with heavy snow a lot. They're called ice dams. But in our situations with freezing rain, the same effect can happen. So you want to get that water as fast as you can, through the gutter, out the downspout. Yeah, it's going to freeze at some point, but you want to try to minimize the time it has up there. So keeping your gutters really good and clean. And if you're down the road, looking things like next season, and if you feel like you need to replace those gutters, that's a really good one to do.
Okay, so important. Really quickly, remind us, one or two things to do for our pipes as we head into the weekend.
Yeah, that's the big one right now. So again, check your outside pipes, make sure they have insulation on them. You could even zip tie some towels around them if you don't have the foam. That's the big one. Another one, know where your water shutoff valve is. If you have a newer home, it might be in your garage, something like that. If you have an older home, it may actually be out by the street. Find that valve, know where it is. And then lastly, if you do lose power from ice, open up those cabinets that have faucets and plumbing in those walls. That'll let some warmer air into that wall space cavity and delay that process of that space cooling down to the point where that water in those pipes is going to freeze. So those are the three big ones. It's these pipe bursts that are the biggest problems when we lose power and we got cold temps.
Okay, so Ian, you also remind us, maintain your yard, disconnect those garden hoses, shut off water sources and all of that. Another reminder is about generators. Cannot stress this enough. Outside, not inside, right?
Absolutely. Please, please, please keep those generators outside and well away from even HVAC equipment or any vents that come in your house. Carbon monoxide poisoning kills people every single year in severe weather using generators, whether it's a hurricane or an ice storm. Please, please use your generator safely. Keep it outside and well away from any openings around your house.
Okay, so here's one I think you still would have time to do if you have a chance to run out to the hardware store. Seal those windows and doors. It keeps it warmer inside the house.
Yeah, you can. So if you notice, especially with this year's cold air, some condensation, or you can even feel it at times, some of those gaps and cracks in windows and doors. Go get a tube of silicone caulk. You can get those that framing sealed up really, really quickly. You can do it in the span of a few hours. So that's another one. If you noticed, last cold air event, a little bit more condensation around it, or you could feel that air coming through that framing of a window and door. Yep, silicone caulk, you can knock that out. That's one of those things we still do have a little bit of time to knock out before this storm.
Okay, you have been super helpful, and we appreciate that. Ian Giammanco, Managing Director for Atmospheric Science. Ian, thank you so much for the tips. We appreciate it.
Yep, you're welcome.
Of course. And thank you so much for joining us here on the stream. We've got more news, of course, talking about this winter weather event expected to happen this weekend. So be sure to stick around for Fox 5 News at noon right here on Fox Local. We got you covered. Take care.